Although Nikola Tesla passed away somewhat unrecognized, his reputation and the legends surrounding him have continued to soar in our day and age. He is now regarded as the quintessential mad scientist who created our modern world and is credited with the key ideas that led to innovations of smartphones, Wi-Fi, AC electrical supply systems, and many more. Nikola Tesla had several strange obsessions. His esoteric beliefs included unconventional theories about Egyptian pyramids. In this video, we'll tell you how Tesla knew the secret of the Great Pyramid and believed it contained unlimited energy to power the world. In 1856, Nikola Tesla was born in what is now Croatia. His father, Milutin, was a Serbian Orthodox priest. He showed obsessive behavior that would confound and amuse those around him from a young age. He was able to mentally store logarithmic tables as well as entire books. He quickly picked up new languages and he could function well on little sleep for days and nights. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of existence, stated Tesla. Nikola Tesla, a Serbian physicist, engineer, and inventor, was penniless and residing in a cramped hotel room in New York City at the end of his brilliant but torturous life. Pigeons were the creatures that mattered most to him, so he spent his days in a park surrounded by them and his sleepless nights mulling over scientific and mathematical problems in his head. Scientists and academics would continue to be perplexed by that habit decades after his 1943 death. He conceptualized and refined his inventions in his head. He was 19 years old when he enrolled in the Polytechnic Institute of Graz in Austria to study electrical engineering, where he quickly made a name for himself as a top student. The direct current motors that were being demonstrated in class were thought to have design flaws, which led to an ongoing argument between him and the professor. He would think about electromagnetic fields and a hypothetical alternate current motor that would and should work for the next 6 years of his life. He couldn't concentrate on his academic work because the thoughts consumed him. University professors warned Tesla's father that his son's work and sleep schedules were killing him. However, rather than completing his studies, Tesla dropped out. Later, in Budapest, he developed plans for an induction motor that would serve as his first step toward the successful application of alternating current after visualizing the concept of the rotating magnetic field. Tesla started working for the Continental Edison Company in Paris in 1882 and 1883. While on assignment in Strasbourg, he built his first induction motor after hours. In 1884, Tesla boarded a ship bound for the United States. He arrived in New York with 4 cents, a few of his own poems, and calculations for a flying machine. He initially found work with Thomas Edison, but because of the two inventors' vastly different backgrounds and working styles, their separation was predictable. Tesla's polyphase system of alternating current dynamos, transformers, and motors was patented in May 1888. Tesla sold the patent rights to George Westinghouse, the president of the Westinghouse Electric Company in Pittsburgh. The deal sparks an epic battle of wills between Edison's direct current systems and the Tesla-Westinghouse alternating current strategy, which ultimately prevailed. Tesla quickly built up his own lab where he could unleash his creative side. He experimented with shadow graphs that Wilhelm Röntgen would later use when he discovered X-rays in 1895. Among Tesla's countless experiments were work on a carbon button lamp, electrical resonance power, and various lighting technologies. Apart from the concepts he developed and patented, Tesla had a wide range of other, sometimes quite mystical, research interests. His obsession with Egyptian pyramids, one of humanity's most mysterious and magnificent structures, was one of the most peculiar. Tesla spent his entire life researching them because he thought they had a higher purpose. What was it about the pyramids that he found so alluring? He wondered whether they were enormous energy transmitters as he looked into ways to transmit energy wirelessly. Pyramids are regarded as a symbol of human civilization. It is one of the world's miracles. Egypt's ancient civilization is distinguished from the rest of the civilizations by its emphasis on religion. It is buried in secrets that have not been revealed since 4500 BC. Electricity is one of those secrets. According to Tesla, the Egyptian pyramids' power was generated not only by their shape, but also by their geographic location. In order to utilize the Earth's energy field, he constructed the Tesla Experimental Station in Colorado Springs and the Wardenclyffe Tower, also known as the Tesla Tower, on the East Coast. He persuaded JP Morgan that he was on the verge of a breakthrough, and the financier provided Tesla with more than $150,000 to fund what would become a tremendous, futuristic, and startling tower in the middle of Long Island, New York. When Tesla's plans to establish a global wireless transmission system were made public in 1898, Wardenclyffe Tower would be his final opportunity to obtain the fame and fortune that had always eluded him. Based on his theories about how the Earth could conduct the signals, Tesla intended to transmit messages, telephony, and even facsimile images across the Atlantic to England and ships at sea. In order to better compete with Guglielmo Marconi's radio-based telegraph system, he decided to scale up the facility and implement his ideas of wireless power transmission. Tesla developed his own theories on how a global wireless system would function through laboratory work and later large-scale experiments at Colorado Springs in 1899. These experiments led him to theorize that by applying electric current to the Earth at precisely the right frequency, he could harness the planet's electrical charge and make it resonate at a frequency that would be amplified in standing waves that could be tapped anywhere on the planet to power devices or through modulation carry a signal. Instead of the more recent theories of airborne electromagnetic waves, his system was based on the 19th century concepts of electrical conduction and telegraphy, which involved an electrical charge traveling through the ground and returning through the air. Tesla did not conduct scientific experiments to test his theories, but he did demonstrate wireless power transmission at Colorado Springs by using electric lights mounted outside the building where he had his large experimental coil. According to his theory, he had allegedly attained Earth resonance, which would function no matter the distance. James S. Warden, a land developer who was creating the Wardenclyffe on Sound resort community in Shoreham on Long Island Sound, sold Tesla 200 acres of land close to a railroad line 65 miles from New York City. Wardenclyffe would eventually serve as a hub city in Tesla's plans for a global network of 30 wireless plants that would transmit messages and media content in addition to electrical power. It was planned for the area around Wardenclyffe plant to be what Tesla would later refer to as a radio city, complete with factories making his patented products. On a portion of his remaining land, Warden planned to construct housing for the 2,000 to 2,500 Tesla employees who were anticipated. The contract for the construction of the electrical laboratory and wireless telegraph plant at Wardenclyffe was finalized by Tesla at the end of July 1901. The cupola was 68 feet in diameter and the tower was 186 feet tall when Tesla began construction at Wardenclyffe. A cupola, a 55-ton steel hemispherical structure, was built onto it. The design of the structure made it possible to remove and replace each component as needed. The remainder of the facility grounds were taken up by the main building. The main structure of the Wardenclyffe facility was designed by Stanford White. It had a machine shop, a boiler room, an instrumentation room, a room for generators, and a lab area. Electromechanical devices, electrical generators, electrical transformers, glass-blowing equipment, X-ray equipment, Tesla coils, a remote-controlled boat, cases containing bulbs and tubes, wires, cables, a library, and an office were all located inside the main building. It was built in a manner reminiscent of the Italian Renaissance. A white associate named W.D. Crowe created the tower. To establish some sort of ground connection, the tower underwent a great deal of construction, but Tesla and his workers kept the public and the press away from the project, so little is known about it. The locations were selected in accordance with the laws governing the construction of the pyramids of Giza, which were based on the relationship between the planet's elliptical orbit and the equator. The design was made with wireless energy transmission in mind. There are also claims that numerology played a role in Tesla's thought process. According to many accounts, Tesla was an odd person with obsessive traits. One such obsession was his belief that the numbers 3, 6, and 9 held the secrets of the universe. He would make 3 passes around buildings before entering them or stay in hotels whose numbers could be divided by 3. He selected other options in groups of 3. Some theorize that Tesla's obsession with these numbers was related to his preference for pyramidal shapes and his conviction that mathematical ratios and fundamental laws are a part of a common mathematical language. The pyramids are viewed by some as structures that could be producing energy, acting as purposefully placed messengers, or even as codes from ancient civilization because we don't know how or why they were built. discoveries have shown that the ancient Egyptians were capable of producing electricity. The discovery of the symbols on the walls demonstrated that they made light work by using electromagnetic waves emitted by the Earth. In addition, the holes in the pyramid were designed to allow starlight to enter Pharaoh Khufu's tomb. The corridors were built using a unique type of stone where the stones act as mirrors and reflect light. On the core principle of the moon, these stones also absorb and radiate nighttime lighting. The construction of the pyramid's form is still the subject of research. According to some scientists, the pyramidal shape of the Earth and its location cause it to emit electric waves that are strong enough to light up the major cities around the globe. Pyramids built during various historical eras reflect various architectural knowledge and serve as a reminder of the glorification of life after death. Pyramid enigmas are still unsolved. No evidence of any lost civilization could be found during excavation works, despite some claims that it exists beneath the pyramids and some inaccurate publications and TV shows on the subject. The history of ancient Egyptian civilization has instead been partially illuminated by the discovery of artifacts like bakeries, inscriptions, and Egyptian tombs. The lives of Egyptian kings and their families are depicted on the walls of tombs. Information about Egyptian religion is provided by inscriptions on the walls. Head of the American University in Cairo Press, Mark Linz, remarked, "The ancient Egyptians were great people just like us, but they built this wonderful civilization. We should learn from them instead of attributing these marvels to others." Mark publishes the works of numerous well-known, acknowledged scholars in ancient Egypt. The Great Pyramid is the oldest of the three large pyramids at Giza, and all three were built during the reigns of the 4th dynasty pharaohs Khufu, Khafra, and Menkaura. Of the three pyramids in the Giza necropolis, the Great Pyramid is the oldest, tallest, and largest. In human history, it is the most significant man-made structure. The pyramid has a height of 485 feet and a base that is 763 feet wide. There are more than 13 acres at the base. It has roughly 2 to 4 million granite blocks inside, each weighing around 2.5 tons for a total of about 6 tons. The entrance is located on the north face about 50 feet above the base. From the entrance, a short, constrained descending passage leads downward. About 95 feet from the entrance, a constricted ascending passage begins upward from the descending passage. The length of the rising passage is about 125 feet. Toward the end, there are 2 more passages. The Queen's Chamber is reached through a narrow 125-foot horizontal passage. Another passage, known as the Grand Gallery, is 157 feet long. It leads to the King's Chamber. There are several tiny empty chambers right next to the King's Chamber, but they are not connected to it. Some experts have interpreted reliefs in the Hathor Temple at Dendera, several dozens of kilometers north of Luxor, as lamps. A wall features wavy-lined snakes, human figures, and bulbous objects. These inscriptions are the source of the Dendera light bulb theory. 3 stone reliefs portray a lotus leaf and flower from which a snake emerges. A snake, which resembles a lamp, is touching the arms on the other side. This snake is sometimes misidentified as a bulb. Evolutionists tried to persuade us that earlier civilizations were primitive and that they advanced over time. However, if we approach historical evidence and references with an open mind, we can see that some civilizations, including Egypt, the Mayans, and others, used extremely sophisticated technologies. There were notable advancements in physics, electricity, and medicine. Ancient Egyptian gold objects were fine gold-plated, which requires electricity. It is also said that they used electricity in their weaving mills. Torches can be seen in reliefs. Although soot was discovered in some areas of the pyramids, it was absent from the corridors and tombs. These locations might make use of electricity. The first arc light and the Baghdad battery were operated at that time. The arc lamp is evidence that electricity was used. The long-term energy supply to the lighthouse of Alexandria must come from a reliable electrical source. Some people think of the pyramids as immense electrical power plants. White limestone was used to cover the Great Pyramid because it has excellent insulating qualities. For this insulation, controlled electricity release is necessary. Pyramids also made use of another kind of limestone. This form had a crystal in it, making it a potential electrical conductor. The small amount of metal present in this particular variety of limestone allowed for maximum power transmission. Granite, a radioactive material and conductor, was used to build the pyramid shafts. Pyramids have amazing insulating and conductive qualities. These conductive materials are used in the same way as an insulated electric cable. The Giza Plateau is home to many underground water channels and the pyramids. Water can be found in the spaces between limestone layers, and these layers also conduct electricity. The surfaces generate electric current when the River Nile's flow is at its greatest. This electric current is carried to chambers that are lined with granite. A gold capstone at the pyramid's summit makes an excellent conductor. The bottom electromagnetic field travels up to the top. The transfer of negative ions to the ionosphere was aided by this capstone, thus a current was produced. In his Wardenclyffe Tower, the pyramid effect was applied by Nikola Tesla. The electromagnetic field in the pyramids and the electromagnetic technology used in Tesla's tower are similar. In the tower, he intended to produce a manipulated lightning strike. Both systems generate native ions and transmit them wirelessly. Pyramid reliefs show handheld lamps with bulbs. We are reminded of Nikola Tesla's description of these bulbs. Tesla was able to light a bulb while holding it in his hand without the use of any electrical wires by transferring current through his body. Pyramids appear to be useful structures, even though they are frequently viewed as nothing more than tombs. The pyramids are massive capacitors and electromagnetic machines. In the Great Pyramid's King's Chamber, a stone chest called the Ark of the Covenant is accessible. When its dimensions and location are considered, the Ark of the Covenant is regarded as the superconductor needed by the pyramid. A wireless transmission facility called Wardenclyffe Tower was built by Nikola Tesla. To boost the voltage at the top, he wanted his tower to be tall, and he made it octagonal because of the unique wave properties of this shape. Tower successfully picked DC current. He conducted the currents through the earth. Unfortunately, the project's main backer, financier JP Morgan, refused to fund the changes. Because further funding could not be secured, the project was shelved in 1906 and never got off the ground. Financial issues and other circumstances in 1906 may have contributed to what Tesla biographer Mark J. Cypher believes to have been a nervous breakdown on Tesla's part. Harry Kendall Thor killed architect Stanford White in June because White had an affair with Thor's wife, actress Evelyn Nesbit. Longtime investor William Rankin passed away in October after having a heart attack. By the fall of that year, George Scherf, Tesla's chief manager who had been overseeing Wardenclyffe, had to leave to find other employment because conditions had gotten so bad. The locals in Wardenclyffe noticed the Tesla plant appeared to have been abandoned suddenly. The facility's main building had been broken into and vandalized by mid-1917. Tesla's total debt at the Waldorf Astoria by 1915 was approximately $20,000, now $535,724. Bolt foreclosed on the Wardenclyffe property after Tesla was unable to make any more mortgage payments. Bolt ultimately decided to demolish the tower for scrap after failing to find any use for the property. The tower was dynamited on July 4, 1917, to start the process of being demolished by the Smiley Steel Company of New York. The initial explosion tilted the tower, but it took till September to completely destroy it. $1,750 was collected as scrap. Since this occurred during World War I, a rumor that the tower was destroyed on the orders of the US government, with claims that German spies were using it as a radio transmitter or observation post, or that it was being used as a landmark for German submarines spread. This rumor was picked up by newspapers and other publications. However, because the original mortgages with Bolt and the foreclosure had been kept off the public record to hide his financial difficulties, Tesla was unable to reveal the true reason for the demolition. Tesla was not happy with what he perceived as attacks on his patriotism through the rumors about Wardenclyffe. George Bolt decided to put the house up for sale. Tesla lost an appeal of the foreclosure judgment by Bolt on April 20, 1922. This effectively barred Tesla from contributing to the facility's future development. To conclude why scientists are obsessed with the pyramids of Giza, the walls of a pyramid are affected by the lines of force created by the electrical charge added to the fields from the sun. The magnetic equipotentials indicate that the summit has a strong magnetic field. The electric field's voltage rises by 100 volts per meter. The peak of the pyramid is where the terrestrial negative field is at its strongest. The Giza Pyramid summit has a voltage of 14,600 volts. This pyramid acts as its own capacitor, storing electrical charge. As far as we are aware, the top was adorned with a solid gold capstone, a superconductor, which caused a discharge if an excess load was added. Pyramids, with their intricate structure and design, are evidence of highly developed knowledge of math, astronomy, and physics. Given the Great Pyramid's location, it is conceivable that Egyptians had a thorough understanding of the dimensions of the Earth. Their profound knowledge is doubtlessly derived from the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Queen's Chamber and its passageway represent the Earth's solar orbit. The size of the niche inside the chamber reflects the escape velocity from the Earth. The elevation of entry into the Queen's Chamber is based on the Earth's orbital circumference around the Sun. Measurements of the entrance passage align with the Earth's and Sun's gravitational neutral points. The Lagrange point, the intersection of the Earth and the Moon, and the distance to the Moon are used to calculate the entrance passage. The mysteries of the pyramids will be solved through further research and study. The Wardenclyffe Tower was destroyed for scrap in 1917, and the property was taken into foreclosure in 1922 in an effort to pay off Tesla's debts. For 50 years it served as a processing plant that created accessories for photography. The original brick structure, which is 94 by 94 feet in size and was designed by Stanford White, has stood there ever since, despite the addition of numerous buildings and the reduction of the site's 200 acres of land to just 16 acres. Hazardous waste from the photographic era was cleaned up in the 1980s and 2000s, after which the site was sold and made ready for new construction. After a successful grassroots campaign to save the site, the land was bought in 2013 to erect a Nikola Tesla museum there later. The property was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 2018.